Thank you, Chairman Scott, Ranking Member Fox. Appreciate the opportunity to come together in this way. We've heard many members talk about the work that they're doing throughout their districts. I know it's the same here. We are working hard to ensure that individuals and businesses can access some of the aid that we've been able to provide through some of the bills that we've done. I do think it's important that Congress continue to meet and operate effectively throughout this time. Certainly, we would like to do that in person, and in ordinary times, I think it's critical that Congress meet in person. The relationships built, the interaction, I think, is an important part of what makes Congress an effective body. But I will say this, I think that using tools like this to continue to operate is something that we should be doing. It's been over 50 years since Congress appropriated dollars to send people to the moon. We should be able to figure out how to operate effectively as a legislative body, even when we can't come together and do that face to face. And so I'm glad this is a step in that direction. So I appreciate you coordinating this. I know I'm spending a lot of my time throughout the days on Zoom and Microsoft Teams and other tools to provide these face-to-face interactions. So there's no reason we can't do that in Congress. I do want to start by thanking all of those really true heroes on the front lines, those in our hospitals, healthcare systems, our first responders, and then secondly, those in the food supply chain. My district is a significant ag presence, one of the top industries here. But it's people who are working at our producers, who are working at plants to ensure that we have the food we need, truck drivers, warehouse workers, all of those who help to ensure that the needs of our community are met, are putting themselves at risk to benefit people throughout our community. So I do want to mention that. There's a lot of talk about schools. And the situation is similar here in Pennsylvania, and in the district that I represent, schools have been closed for the rest of this year, or the rest of at least until June. Both systems of higher education as well as K through 12. We're seeing that firsthand. My daughter is a senior at one of our great Pennsylvania schools, Temple University. She's finishing up her finals right now as we speak in another room in the house. They stepped up very quickly, as did schools throughout Pennsylvania, to ensure that learning could continue throughout this. And then the same, my son's a junior at a public school here, and took them a little longer to get up and running because they just simply didn't have the kind of experience that the higher education schools did, but they're operating very effectively as well and continuing to ensure that education can occur. Here in Pennsylvania, particularly the counties in my district, they've combined, we have had over 2,000 positive COVID-19 patients, and tragically, we've had over 150 deaths now. Those numbers are unsettling, but the good news here in our region is that the social distancing, which I think was very, very important, was successful because the past few weeks, it appears that the number of new cases is leveling off and perhaps even starting to decline. So clearly, our curve has flattened, as was the intent of social distancing. So I think it is not too early to think about reopening, and I don't think anybody believes that means that we're going to return to normal immediately, or that we should even stop some of the habits that we've developed in regards to social distancing. So we're going to need to continue to follow recommended guidelines such as face masks, washing hands frequently, maintaining social distancing, and so on. But the world moving forward will look very different for at least the next year, maybe 18 months until we have a vaccine, than it did just a few weeks and months ago. And I believe the longer that we wait to start learning how to function under this new normal, the more economic harm and job loss American households will face. Of course, we've been talking about the workplace. That's one of the key places that it's going to be required to adapt to ensure that workers are safe. And I can tell you that many employers in my district, I've already mentioned some in the ag community and so on, they have pivoted to coming up with innovative ways to keep their employees safe while meeting production needs. We like to refer our district as America's snack capital of the world. We have many manufacturers, both salty snacks as well as sweets that have been essential in maintaining our food supply chain. And there's others as well whose work impacts many critical industries along the chain. And as I mentioned, I'm just grateful for all the work they've done to ensure that food is delivered safely, employee health is prioritized. And some of the things that these manufacturers have done is they've worked to ensure that they have the necessary supplies for their workers, provided masks, other equipment for employees in these facilities, and for when they go home. They want to make sure that they're doing all they can to minimize exposure for all the community, whether they're in or out of the workplace. I've heard from many employers who are implementing temperature checks. This is going to become commonplace, I think, as industries continue to open. They're posting information to identify potential symptoms to ensure employees remain healthy. They're providing them with paid sick leave. They're taking steps to physically spread out workstations and making the types of modifications that I think all employers are going to need to be thinking about as we're going forward. So I'll stop at that. I'm just really pleased to be part of today's conversation. I'd like to thank you again, Chairman Scott, for scheduling this.